Hi, this video is part of my complete Docker and Kubernetes course. The link is in the description of the video, so make sure to give a thumbs up, and if you don't want to miss any updates, subscribe to the channel. That being said, let's get started. Hello and welcome back. Let's now start on Dockerizing our notebooks backend. We're going to start by creating a new file here under the notebooks backend directory. That's just going to be our docker ignore file. This file will contain our node modules folder because we don't wish to send this once again as part of the build context to the Docker daemon. We can then create another file which is going to be called the docker file.dev. And this, once again, a very simple Node 22 Alpine. We're going to copy our package and package.lock.json files. These are all familiar to you already. Let's not forget our work directory here, working directory /app. We're going to copy this, run npm ci, then we're going to copy everything. And finally, we'll simply have the command here, npm run dev, like so. Once we have this Docker file in place, we can then come here to our notebooks backend, also create another file. We're going to simply call this compose.yaml, and it's going to be the first compose file that we will create for our application. The name here will be just notebooks-backend, and the services will contain for now a single notebook service with a build configuration of a context in the current directory and a Docker file of dockerfile.dev. We would like to also expose the port here, so we would like to define a couple of environment variables. Port will simply be 3000, or we can actually listen here on port 80. Let's change a little bit and let's listen on port 80 from our server. However, let's map here under our ports, let's map our host port 3000 to the port 80 of our container. We can then also set up hot reloading with develop watch, and then we'll simply say here -action will be sync, and the path here will be our /source folder, and the target will be our /app/source. And that should be good enough. Before we move forward here with spinning up this application, we do need to change our code here to listen in the actual port that we are receiving here from our compose file. So the port will be 80, and this port will be available as an environment variable. So let's just listen to the port here. We're just going to copy this. Let's extract this to a variable, const port is equal to process.m.port. Let's now type it here, and let's change this to be a string with interpolation. We're going to just use port, and then this here from a single quote to backticks will do the job for us. Perfect. Let's save this. Let's come back to the terminal. Let's change into our notebooks backend directory. And now let's run docker compose up. We would like to build here, and we would also like to watch for code changes. As you can see, if you already have these images, the Node 22 Alpine from previous projects, this is going to be a very quick build here. And the server is then up and running, listening for requests on port 80. We can confirm that the server is up and running by sending a request to the port 3000 of our local host, which is then behind the scenes being mapped to port 80 of our container, and we get here at the bottom the response, hello from notebooks. Perfect. So we were able to quickly Dockerize our application. There is really nothing new so far here. We just did a few of the things that we already did in the past a little bit faster. We have defined our Docker file. We have then defined the compose file, which will build our image here, or which will define the configuration for building our image whenever we feel like doing so with the docker compose up -- build. It just defines the ports or the localhost port here to be mapped to our port 80 of the container. which will then be the port where we will listen for requests. We have also set up the hot reloading feature here, or the feature to watch for changes in our source directory and sync them with the /app/source directory inside of the container. Let's then take a short break and come back in the next lecture to continue with our project.